All right, my wonderful Algebra 1 people. We are actually working this week on the quadratic formula, and I gave you two worksheets. So on this worksheet where it says solve equations by factoring, on these they're pretty easy. They're already factored for you, so these are simple. Just solve them, give me the answers. When you get to numbers 5, on 5 through 22, you have to do every problem twice. What you're going to have to do first is factor it, and you can work right here on this paper, okay? And then on your own notebook paper, you're going to need to solve it using the quadratic formula. Now let me show you what I mean real quick. So here is, okay, I guess I decided I was going to do number 8 because I think I did number 5 in class. So right here, I copied down number 8. So what you're going to do first on the actual worksheet is factor this. So I'm going to move this to the other side, because it always needs to equal 0, no matter what method you use. So that's going to give me what? Negative 18 equals 0. Now, since this is a 1, these are supposed to be easier to factor. You don't have to show any work at all. Remember, if this is not a 1, this coefficient, you have to show your work and use the Lizzie method. Okay, n times n is n squared. You're looking for factors of negative 18 that add up to 3. Well, that's going to be, what, 6 and a negative 3. Hopefully everybody can see if you add those, you get a positive 3, but if you multiply them together, you get a negative 18. Okay, remember, if this is squared, you're going to typically get 2 answers. And so I will, right here, what does n have to be so you get 0? Well, it would be negative 6. Why? Because negative 6 plus 6 is 0. And this one would be 3, because 3 minus 3 is 0. So that's my 2 answers, okay? That's called solving by factoring. Now, what you're going to have to do on your own paper is the first thing you're going to do for number 8, because we're going to do it again, is you have to write out the quadratic formula. So I think it'd be great if you'd sing it. So here we go. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I know, pretty impressive, and you wonder why I wasn't a music teacher. Okay, when you get ready to do this, and you need to write out the equation every single time, okay? That's worth a point, just right there. So use this equation, and I'm going to copy it down where you set it equal to 0. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm trying to look through my phone here, okay? Once you set it equal to 0, you're going to use this equation. Remember, the number out front is your a value. Your b value is the number in front of this first term. And your c value is this last number, your constant, negative 18. So it's always a, b, c. So there's my ABCs, and I'm going to plug it into my formula. So here I go. This one's the opposite of b. B is 3. Well, the opposite of that is a negative 3. Plus or minus. What is b squared? Well, 3 squared is 9. Minus 4a. A is 1. C is a negative 18. Okay. All over, and this says take 2 times a, which you can see a is 1. So I guess I could show my work, but I'm good if you just write 2 right there. Okay. When you solve this, what I was trying to tell them in class is you first count how many minus, negative signs, whatever. Do you see I have 2? If you have an even number, you're going to add. If you end up with an odd number, okay, like there's only 1, then you would subtract. So figure out if you're going to add and subtract, and then in their calculator, multiply these 3 together, or they can do it in their head, whichever floats their boat. But 4 times 1 times 18. That way they don't even have to worry about their signs. So in your calculator, just go ahead and do that. I think it's 52, but, you know, test me. Nope, 72. What was I thinking? Scare myself sometimes. Okay, and then we get negative 3 plus or minus the square root. Let's see, what's that going to give me? 81 all over 2. Now, sometimes you're done. That's all you can do. So look and be careful. If this is a perfect square, you need to go further, and it is. The square root of 81 is 9. Okay, so you have that. Now, a lot of people are like, what does this mean? This means you have to do it twice. One time you're going to add, and then the next time you're going to subtract. So let me show you what I mean. Negative 3 plus 9 is 6. So I have 6 over 2. which is 3. That's one of my answers. And then next time you're going to subtract. You're going to do negative 3 minus 9, which is a negative 12, over 2, which is a negative 6. So look at my two answers. They'd better be the exact two answers I got when I was factoring. Okay, so that's what you're going to want to do on this first worksheet. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you on this next worksheet. All you have to do on this one is use the quadratic formula. You don't have to do it twice, and that's good. So for example, on this particular worksheet, I'll work out for you number 7. Where is it? Here's number 7. I've already got it copied down for you. So the first thing you're going to want to do is always set it equal to 0. And that's true even when you factor. So I'm going to do that. 7 minus 4 is 3. Okay, now by the way, the reason we don't factor these is because there are no factors of 12. Look, if you did the Lizzie method, there are no factors of 12 that add up to 8. Nothing nice, okay? So in order to solve this, we have to do a different method. So we're going to use the quadratic formula. So here we go. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over, whoops, I slipped, 2a. Okay, now remember, this is your A, B, C. So I'm going to come over here to the side. I'm like, okay, A is 4, B is 8, C is 3. Just be sure you watch the signs in front. Had that said a minus 8, then that would have been a negative 8. So just be really careful. Okay, and now we're going to plug in. This one's the opposite of B. Well, the opposite of 8 is negative 8. And this says to take your B and square it. Well, 8 squared is 64. Minus 4a, see, a is 4, and c is 3, all over 2a. So 2a. Okay, so I'm going to come down here. Rest for showing work. I'm going to count how many minus signs or negatives you see. I only see one, odd number, so I'm going to subtract. So in my calculator, I'm going to hit 4 times 4 times 3. That way, I do not have to worry about the negatives or anything like that. So that's 48 all over 8. Okay, so 64 minus 48, if you need to use a calculator, do, but that's going to give you 16 all over 8. And that gives me, this is a perfect square, so I'm going to keep going. The square root of 16 is 4. All right, so negative 8 plus 4 is what? Negative 4. And that will reduce, positive and a negative is a negative 1/2. So that's one of my answers, okay? Then I have to do it again, but this time I'm going to subtract. Negative 8 minus 4 is negative 12. Notice 4 will go into both of those. 4 will go into that 3 times, and 4 will go into that twice. So I get two nice looking fractions right there. And that's what made this a little harder to factor, okay? Let me double check something real quick. I should have, now I'm looking, did I give you the answers for these on the second page? And look right there. As you can see, I did give you the answers and we are correct. But obviously, answers are worth nothing. You would have to have all this lovely work to receive credit. And you guys have a good time.